Well, good morning. This is me, Ma. After Gary went home to be with the Lord, I found myself dangling, not knowing where in the world I was going to fall. But Gary had given me a purpose for living, but I had to turn to the only one that had been always there for me, and that was Jesus. So I thank God that He is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Gary had died on April the 3rd, 4 days after his birthday. We'd had a wonderful celebration of his birthday, and now after he passed we had a celebration for his life. At the memorial service, the florist prepared a huge wreath depicting water with hydrangeas, and then even had incorporated some water lilies, water hyacinths, and he put a wooden branch in there and with some green leaves and a fishing pole, and had even incorporated a bass in the wreath. It was beautiful. And the urn looked like a great giant red and white bobber. So it was such a fitting send-off for a fisherman. And I know that if Gary had been there and known what had happened, he would have been so pleased and blessed. So in the death of so many of my loved ones, life goes on. I remember thinking when my mom died, how can these people that have come to see me act so normal, laughing and joking when my mom died and my life was going to be changed forever? But by the time Gary passed away, I knew the best way for me to cope in a loss is to stay a bit close to God and to stay as busy as I can to keep the devil from occupying my thought life instead of dwelling on my feelings. So with God's help, I was not going to be depressed or have another pity party. There's always things that need to be done when somebody dies, so I did them. I continued going to church and even conducted the meetings for His Majesty's daughters. And one of my nieces was going to get married in Destin, Florida in May, and Lisa and I planned to do that. And after things returned to normal, the thought came into mind, I'm getting older. I live 4 hours away from my daughter. And she's going to be the one that has to look after me when I get to be an old lady. And I've never wanted anybody to look after me, but common sense tells me that there probably will come a time when I can't do it. And she would have to drive back and forth from her house to my house, and it's 4 hours away. And I knew that would be a real imposition on her if time ever came to that. And she'd have to be away from her family. And I didn't want to be that kind of trouble, so I thought, I need to still move up there where she's living. So I was talking to her on the phone a few days after Gary died, and I said, well, what do you think about us buying a house together? And because she wanted all of her living space on one floor, she was tired of running up and down the stairs. So she thought it was a great idea. I said, well, when do you think I ought to put it on the market? She said, well, why don't you go ahead? It's taken so long before to do it. We don't know when it's going to sell. So I put it on the market. I talked to the real estate agent Thursday. He put it on the market Friday. I had 3 people to come look at it Saturday, 2 on Sunday, and I had another one coming Monday. And the first person that looked at it on Saturday made me an offer, but they wanted $2,000 less and wanted me to pay the closing costs. So my realtor said, why don't you wait and let's see what we can do. So Monday, the people that looked at it says, we'll pay you the cost that you're asking, the price that you're asking, plus we'll pay the closing costs. So I decided, well, this was it. So in less than a week, I had made arrangements to sell my house. And then I had until June the 30th to be ready and to move out. And I thought, oh my gosh. And I still wanted to go to Destin, so we went to Destin. I came back home and I packed all my boxes, and I did it all by myself until the last week when Lisa came to help me. And so she got there, and we still had to get everything ready for a garage sale. We had to clean cabinets. We had to scrub floors. We had to move everything out, be completely gone in a week. And so, but we did it with God's help. Everything was done. We gave away stuff. And after we'd had the garage sale, I gave away 2 more truckloads to people that come that needed it for a friend of theirs, and I was glad that I could do that. So that made me feel real good. So by June the 30th, we'd been to Destin, we'd done everything, and I was thinking, Okay, one day when I had time to think during all of that, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be president of His Majesty's Daughters anymore. And God had finally given me something that I felt like that I was doing that was worthwhile for Him, and now I was having to leave. And so I thought to myself, well, who's going to be president? I mean, Dorothy was my vice president, but she'd never done anything like that, and she didn't feel like that she was qualified to do it. And I thought, who in the world is going to get to do it? And I'm really worrying about it. And the Lord spoke to me, and He said, I thought you told everybody that this was not your ministry, that it was mine. And I said, well, I did. He said, well, then quit worrying about it. It's not yours to worry about. He says, Dorothy's vice president. Just tell her that she's going to have to take over. That's what vice presidents do when the president's not there. They just have to take over. So I called her and told her, I said, well, you're vice president. You're going to have to take over because I'm leaving. This next meeting will be my last meeting. And so she was frightened, but I knew that it was God's business and He was going to help her run it. And so she did for 6 months. And after 6 months was over, she told them that she was going to be leaving and they'd have to get another president. And then I thought again, oh my gosh, it's going to die. Who's going to be president? Because nobody would hardly even consider even such a thing. I never asked anybody, but I certainly prayed and I told them, why don't you think about it? So anyway, and nobody had stepped up to the plate, and I thought, well, this is going to be the end of it. And it was, I had given birth to that baby, and I was really worried about it. But it was God's business, and I left it up to Him, and He brought somebody up. I said, well, she'll do a really good job. I felt really good about it. So I rested in that, and then I began, every month I would hear about the meetings that they were having, and they made changes to what I knew that God had told me to do. And I still gave birth to that baby, and it was my baby, and I got all upset, and the devil used my getting upset to torment me. Well, God kept, even though I would get upset, thank God, the Holy Spirit in me helped me from getting real upset. Because He'd say, it's not your business, Betty. It's not your business. So I never called anybody. I never expressed my concerns or my upset. Maybe I did, but not in a way that the devil wanted me to do it anyway. So I got the victory after all of that. And because God was over there all the time. And He told me one day, He says, don't you think that I can handle it? You don't have to be there and you don't have to say nothing about it. I can convict him. So He really toppled me off of my steeple of pride that I'd started to climb. And so I got a report to you that as of this past January, they told me they'd had one of the largest meetings that they've had, and it has been since 2017 that it has continued, and they've had awesome people there. And again, I would like to have been more people to come, but anyway, it's the largest meeting that they've had in a long time, and the people that have gone there have really been blessed. So I thank God that He allowed me to do that. So leaving the community where I had spent all of my life, and the family and friends that were still there, the house that I designed, my friends and family, I was having to leave all of that. And you might have thought, well, how sad and how depressing. But I think with God's help, I knew that I was going into a different phase of where He was carrying me. It was not necessarily my idea. The idea originated with me, but I'd been thinking about it for a long time. And so I felt like He was really directing my path to move to North Georgia. So I didn't have any real regrets leaving. So the day on June the 30th that we went to the lawyer's office and signed the papers to sell my house, Lisa and I had lunch and we left. And we had the last load of my belongings driving through torrential rains on my way to Atlanta. And but I didn't mind any of it all because I felt like I was headed in a new direction and a new adventure. And really, I felt like Paul said, I forgot those things were behind and I was pressing on to my new adventure. So, thank you for listening.
So listen, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Thanks.